Hey, it's Snacks over here, and today we're bringing you some brand new exclusive footage of the new Jedi Survivor game. So I was able to play about 3 hours of the game at an EA Respawn event with some members of the press and fellow friends and content creators. It was such an amazing time. Not only did we get to play the game, but we met so many cool and genuinely kind people, including Cameron Modicam, Cal Kestis himself. As for the game, I came away very impressed. Like, the combat mechanics was just as good as Fallen, but even smoother, and Cal has tons of new moves, and what you'll see today is just the tip of the iceberg.
Target has a solid defense.
You'll see a lot of familiar enemies in the Star Wars universe, including, yep, you're seeing it correctly, a Rancor. Now, when I first played the Rancor, I was already leveled up quite a bit, but some others at the event tried to take him on before even leveling up, and at the most difficult level, on the hardest level. So you could imagine, they died a lot. See here from the footage, they have the model and details of the Rancor down to a T, even getting some of his finishing animations down really well. Speaking of details, here is a look at the settings menu. Feel free to pause the screen if you want to take a look more closely. And for PC players out there, here is a display sub-menu and the settings for that. For those of you who are Team Red and rocking a Radeon GPU, you'll be happy to see that Jedi Survivor does have an AMD Fidelity FX option. And if you recently bought a 7000 series AMD chip, chances are you got the game for free as it was bundled with the CPU. Side quests are super plentiful. As you can see here, we have a poor pit droid needing help with his stuck ship. Also, with so many side quests, the maps and world do seem much more detailed and larger, and with that, I expect the need to a lot of storage space. You'll see a lot of familiar enemies, but new ones as well. I think this one here is called a Shiverpede.
Let's take a look.
Meditation points works very similar as before, but with even more options. In Jedi Survivor, we have 5 stances. We have the single blade, double bladed, dual wield, which is my personal favorite, cross guard, and also Cal can use a blaster. Now, I can't say too much about the blaster, and you won't see it in the footage here, but some of the coolest, most satisfying gameplay we've seen comes from a few blaster moves. The skill tree works similar to the old game where you need to unlock certain parts in order to be able to progress in the next skill, assuming you have enough skill points. Now, in my brief time playing the demo, I got that you really had to be thoughtful in choosing your path and unlocking some of the skills, at least in the early game. Traveling in Jedi Survivor has a few wrinkles which I thought were cool. For starters, one thing I noticed was how much more vertical the maps were. So you already do have to be sure to not only loop around, but also up in order to make sure you don't miss anything and to get to places. The number of environments that Cal can climb and scale has really increased. So there were so many times where I was on the planet and asked myself, I wonder if I can climb these vines or that cage net. And more often than not, the answer was yes. While on the subject of traveling, there are challenges and parts of the game that will require you to use your skills for you to get from one point to another. So if you're one of those people who like these sorts of challenges, Jedi Survivor has it covered. And last but not least, in regarding to show how Cal gets from point A to point B, we can now ride chocobos. Okay, maybe not chocobos, but I couldn't help but think these new creatures were chocobos. So these creatures are called Nekos, and we saw them on the ranch as well as a few other places. They do run on two hind legs, just like tauntauns or chickens. I found them adorable, and I would never slice one open to keep warm at night.
Can't be far off.
For covering much longer distances, Survivor does have their own version of paragliding or flying, and it's what you see right here. By the way, once you have a Neko mount, you can always call it over to you if you need to ride it again. Traveling on zip lines have an option to travel in both directions at the press of the button, as you can see right here. And now let's get back to the combat. You know I love my crunchy combat, and the combat and animations in Jedi Survivor has improved. Unfortunately, they didn't share a lot of the more advanced combat skills, so we can't wait to see them now. But trust me, there is a lot to look forward to. I think I mentioned before that dual wield is my favorite. It's not great at defense, it's more of an offensive style, but you can really put out some serious damage while looking super cool doing it. Here you see Cal using a dual wield stance against a bile maw. By the way, I mentioned animations and I love the small details, like how Cal takes out his lightsaber. Here we have it slowed down at 50% so you can appreciate the animation. So just like Jedi Fallen Order, we have force push, pull, and slow. And by the way, we can also grapple using an ascension cable, which has now become a staple of every new game.
I'm on him. Can't take a hit. You're gonna mess up. It's all over now. That's a hit. This is going. Go get it.
One other great detail is now you can dismember enemies using a fight in the middle of the battle, instead of just during a finisher.
BD, here! Help BD!
Yo, look at these finishers. Love it. The ability to take out enemies below is always fun, and just like before, the way you can chain together different combos and skills, every single fight really has endless possibilities. but the number of moves in this game just takes it to another level.
Out of my way!
I am programmed to kill you. Enemy has precise target.
Wait,
So without giving away too much, let's just say cool stuff happens on the planet. Then Cal ends up kind of crash landing on another planet called Kobo, where he needs to find parts to fix his ship. If you're wondering if Grease is in the game, let's just say maybe. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention before by now, the cat's out of the bag and Cal can actually use the blaster. One thing I found that was interesting was that there really wasn't a big debate on whether or not Cal would wield an uncivilized weapon such as a blaster. As a matter of fact, they wanted to include the blaster in Jedi Fallen Order, but there just wasn't enough time to put it in that game.
time to save. Don't mess this up.
But regardless, I promise you, you will be glad that they included a blaster in this game.
Engage the target. Cannot resist forever. Dodge executed.
Another ability in Survivor lets you use the Force to cause a foe to take your side and fight your enemies.
Nice.
I found this move so cool and useful. It'll come in handy. So here we have a Biomod that we have to help us along this route as it clears out some keepers for us. You know, work smarter, not harder. So these little chicken-looking enemies,
No way
those
we're
are
crossing
called
that and still
Rokas. Here you see Cal using the Force ability on it as well.
No. Hyloon Saloon down
As
in
if
the
all
outpost is
this
starving
wasn't
for some
Star
light
Warsy
entertainment.
enough for you, you can future
Might not be a
immerse
bad
yourself
call.
in the world
DD swore one of
by
those
meeting
beasts gave
some
him
new
side eye.
friends and helping them out. Here, Cal meets a droid called
Yeah, we're in.
DDEC who
We'll get you
loves
back
to
at the outpost.
DJ.
See you there.
After a little encouragement, our new friend ends up at the local cantina, and what do you know? DDEC even takes requests too.
Now that looks like a stage. Can't wait to hear what you've got. Pretty sure Grease's old jukebox predates the High Republic.
We got you, Cal. Hit up DDEC if you want to hear anything specific.
I will. Thanks. Let's see here. Cue the music.
Another detail I enjoyed is the time they put into some of the lighter moments, but really does capture some of the personalities of the Star Wars characters.
Look at that.
Like the battle droid here.
Is that a giant crater? Wow. I got it so easy. Guard the cliff, crush the locals, look at the scenery. Nobody's getting past me. Not without a blaster hole in him. I wonder if I'll get promoted for doing such a good job. Then I'll get the other droids to guard the cliff. Oh, but then I won't see the scenery. Now that's a dilemma.
Also, in case you're wondering, our favorite little furry creatures, Boglings, are back in Jedi Survivor, and now you can interact with them much more. They were so adorable. I wanted to pinch them in real life. Ugh. Giggle.
Well, take a look, you'll find the finest components and sundries this side of the Outer Rim. Now that's a Domodendra guarantee.
Hear that, buddy? A guarantee.
That's right, shop built on trust and quality, and I aim to keep it that way.
And for those of you like me who like to spend hours customizing, Jedi Survivor has so many more options for how Cal looks with so many more hairstyles, facial hair, and clothing.
Oh, I knew that one would catch your eye.
The gardening and seed system is also upgraded because now you can choose where you want to plant the seed in your garden, so you can mix, match, or decorate however you want. If you remember the old system, basically you planted a seed and there really weren't any options to customize the garden at all. The plant just kind of grew in the same spot on Visa's ship, so everyone's garden literally looked the same.
We'll grow safe here.
The workbench also has tons of more components and more crystal colors too. Personally, I love rocking the pink hilt and crystal, but check out all the other options. By the way, a lot of components are the exact same ones they have at Disneyland and Disney World's Build-A-Saber at Savvy's workshop. So if you're a big Star Wars fan, I highly recommend you check it out. The number of crystal colors you have early on is more than the last game. You have blue, green, purple, yellow, cyan, magenta, indigo, orange, and white.
This one's ready to go.
BD1 also has a ton of options, as you can see here. Look at the Neko mount walk by in the background. That's so cute! Oh yeah, before I go, BD1 has a visor which lets Cal use BD1 as binoculars to mark things on the map. Okay, and here's a look at some of the outfits for Cal. To be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the limited looks of Cal's poncho in the last game. I mean, it was okay, but here you really aren't gonna have that problem. And here's a closer look at some of the customizations for head and facial hair for Cal. Ooh, look at Cal. So hot. So that wraps up the video for today. If you have specific questions about the game, feel free to ask in the comment section below. Thanks for stopping by, and may the Force be with you.